This is being recorded, ladies and gentlemen, live for posterity or prostitution.
This is recorded for quality assurance.
Yes, there's some assurance that this will have quality at some point in the process. Maybe a few years later, retroactively, but not currently. Okay, so the topic this week is the catch-22s of life. Should everything come with training wheels? Maybe. I think it might have to, because life is fucking weird, and people always expect you to have experience you don't have, and then they get mad at you or won't even use you when you don't have experience. This is the Jeskidding podcast, where we talk about shit like this, and then sometimes I say things that I'm deeply regretful, and I'm like, I was just kidding. And then other times I say things that are kind of meaningful, and I say, what do I say, dude? Jeskidding. That's what I say. Apparently the ding part of the Jeskidding isn't working today, Austin. We're here with Austin. How are you, Austin?
Hey, how are you?
You sound very not excited to be here. Can we try that again? We're here with Austin. How are you, Austin?
Jesse, I'm so stoked and once again so happy to be on this podcast. I love it, man. Thank you so much for having me as a guest.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I was about to grab the pink gun off the wall and threaten you in a very effeminate way.
I would have just ducked under my desk.
That's fair. And I would have... I'd have a better chance blowing kisses at you. I don't really know where I'm going with that. So anyway, this week's podcast is basically the catch-22s of life. And I think that they're everywhere and they're confusing, and so I figured we'd talk about them. What are the catch-22s of life? Well, I'm going to give you one. We're going to start out. We're going to have a chat room interaction from Twitch. We broadcast live on Twitch. And first one is, you can't get a job with no experience, but how do you get experience when no one will hire you? Austin, take it away. Have you experienced this before?
I actually have not. And one of the things that I'm doing, like in my college education, is I actually work in the field that I'm getting a degree in.
Smart, very smart. So you actually will have job experience before you get to the job. So like, hey, do you have experience? You'll be like, why, yes, I do.
Well, because this is a problem that lots and lots of people, even people that I know, one of my best friends experienced that as well. So when I saw everybody else going through these things, I was like, I need to make sure that this doesn't happen to me.
Oh, you're super smart. I mean, because I think that two things can happen, right? This doesn't always happen when you're first going for a job, but it can really happen later on when you're even trying to switch skill sets within a job, right? So say if you have like the skills to, I have a Sharpie in my hand, I'm going to point it like I'm smart from different times, but you have the skills to say, do some sort of programming language, right? And you're a programmer. We have many programmers who are part of this chat. And there's a different language that's required for a particular job. And maybe you're leaving your job to get that job. And they're like, hey, do you have this skill set? And you don't. So what do? You have another skill set. It's an ancillary skill set. You could learn that skill set, probably learn it very quickly. But do you tell them that you have the skill set? What would you do, Austin? I'm a big believer of fake it till you make it sometimes. What would you do? So I guess I'm not a big believer. I'm a big hypocrite because I said sometimes. Sorry.
And I would pretty much just make it clear that, I don't have any hands-on experience, but I've studied it and I understand it, and I can learn.
But don't you think that there are instances where, especially in today's world of like fucking going through resumes and stuff, that you're just not even going to get a chance to be considered because you just don't fit the check boxes? I mean, this terrifies me. If I ever want to switch careers, not that I have one now, but if I did, and I wanted to switch it, what would I do if I didn't? Like, I'm super smart. So I'm talking about myself. That's what I do on this podcast. So if I'm super smart, which hopefully I am, right? I'm super experienced in like leading people and teams and ancillary skills. And if I wanted to do something else in my life, how would I like prove to somebody that I'd be a great fit if I hadn't been the great fit before for somebody else? And that's sort of the conundrum, right? How do you prove that you have experience, even ancillary, that will make you valuable when somebody else may fit that checkbox? Have you ever been did you ever apply for jobs that you didn't get, Austin? I know you're pretty young relative to me.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty. When I was working and doing the refinery work, of course, I would have never even made it in there if, I didn't have my dad vouching for me. And that's not, something that everybody has access to,
Right.
So it's like one of those things, but I still had to be there and build the experience and, be familiar with the place and how the work is done before I was able to because like he got me in the door, but I had to create my own opportunities after that
Right.
through the experience. So it's like,
And in that case, the experience is actually dangerous, right? Working at a refinery, you're like, shit can go wrong. People get hurt. Or am I thinking of some movie that I've seen?
yeah.
Okay, so
And that's why the point I was making was that it's important that you build this base. Like for anything that you might think that you want to do or pursue as a career, like you have to build some kind of base. Like you say, well, how can I prove to these people that have never met me and don't know me that I'm qualified for this job?
right.
Like it's just, and that's a lot of what college does, right?
Well, I don't think
Not to
so.
go
I
on
think
like a super big rant, but the
sometimes
thing,
they're supposed to, but they really don't provide a lot of real world experience. They really don't. Most
well,
colleges.
it's beyond just the degree. Like it doesn't provide real world experience because what you're doing in the classroom isn't the same as what you do on the field. But
Right.
there are opportunities there, like organizations and internships and things that you can do that provides you leadership and real world experience to make yourself a marketable employee when you go out into the world.
I think you should give motivational speeches, dude. I felt very educated by what you just said. I was like, this guy, I wish you were my college guidance counselor, Redneck Rebel. What a fucking be. Oh, Mr. Redneck will see you now. Be like, well, you need to get real world experience. And it's a whole 100% true. And kind of like it's what I advocate for everybody. Just go out there. And I hate to say it, but there's traps to what I'm about to say. You know, work for free, get any experience. Work for somebody that will be willing to vouch for you later. But there's a whole industry in the entertainment industry that got into a lot of trouble with it because they were being abusive. And they still look at my Bigfoot. I just put my toe up on the table. You can see it in the shot. That's creepy. But they were being abusive to a whole sea of interns that they weren't paying. And they were basically, you know, creating a whole workforce out of that idea of, you know, you can't get a job with no experience, but how do you get experience when no one will hire you? And they use that. And then what they do is they keep these people as interns for like 3 years so that they couldn't, and then by the time they got paid, they were sort of working their way into maybe entry level. And then another sea of free labor would come in. They got sued and they lost. But in some industries, they sort of prey upon this lack of experience thing. I think that the experience of doing things is actually much more valuable than going to school for it sometimes. Because the learning on the job is like, what's better than learning on the job? You know what I'm saying?
I think so too, because school can only teach you so much. Like it can help you understand the job or understand the skill set that you're going to have. But like actually applying it like to realistic real life situations is a lot different. Like problem solving and critical thinking, like there's some stuff like that that school is really not going to be able to teach you.
I agree
There's a
completely.
lot of formal classes, of course, that I've taken and am taking that'll say, you know, this is this and this is that, but it's like it can't really explain how to apply it or when to apply it.
But I will say this, that there is something to the foundational elements that some schooling can provide that just being on the job, skipping the school section can actually be really harmful. I mean, you talk to OC Diva and Erica the artist, and she'll tell you that a lot of the stuff that she learned in school it was create such a foundation for everything that she did at her jobs. You know what I'm saying? And that's why she could do the meta, you know, and sometimes in a superior way to coworkers that just came in with no formal training in it. It's very interesting. Going to the chat room for a second. So Jerry in a little bit is going to explain to us about HR systems using an ATS system. HR using ATS systems to scan through resumes and how that works and how they're sort of like weeding people out that don't have those check marks next to their names. Very interesting. And Danny from the chat room said that learning on the job is amazingly better. Listen, I agree with you. Nothing beats real world experience, but there's so many times in life that you don't have that opportunity. And here's another example of it. How do you get good credit to buy something like a car that you need or a house and when you have no credit? So it's like just this long process of building up this track record and, you know, getting taken advantage of by some credit card in the beginning. When I was in school, this is not legal anymore. But when I was in school, Austin, you're in college now, right? They had like tables set up all throughout the university where they'd give you free shit and throw credit at you at some ridiculous APR to try to entrap you into some ridiculous thing that you wouldn't be able to pay back because you were 19 and irresponsible and wanted that new I don't know, high def television. So it's kind of like a system that's designed to take advantage of the fact that you're new, right? You're going to get hazed because of this catch-22 of not having the credit, even though you've never done anything to show that you have bad credit. It's like credit has to be earned, but yet they'll give it to you in a way that entraps you. It's very strange, and another one of life's fucked up things. Another one is like, how do you be a good parent? Everybody's expected to be a great parent when they're, when you've never had kids. You know what I'm saying? So like the kid comes out and it's like, why aren't you a better parent? Because you have no fucking experience being a parent. You can only read so many books,
And you only get one chance.
Yeah, that's it. There's the kid. Make it work. Oh, you were a bad parent. I don't fucking know. You know what I'm saying? That little shit was trying to take my cookies. So I stopped him. You know what I'm saying? That to me, that's good parenting if you like cookies. Because you got your cookies. Fuck them. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. But it's like that's the kind of thing. It's like the back to the point of this thing is like I'll give you a quick example. Being thrown into the water right away in sort of training. When I took my first driving lesson ever in New York City, the guy shows up in this tiny little like Sentra or something. Was it, who makes that? Nissan Sentra. And we're on the west side of Manhattan. And he's like, no, just get in. He's like, this is I said I drove around a parking lot once. He's like, yeah, let's go. Right? So I just started gassing it. It wasn't like on some like closed track. He's like, it'll be fine. Just watch out for that car. I'm like, really? And I had played driving games before. He's like, let's go onto the highway, the West Side Highway. So I go onto the highway, and all of a sudden I'm doing 80 miles an hour. I've never driven before. I cannot believe that we didn't die. But I survived, and I learned how to drive with a person who obviously had a death wish and maybe wanted me to drive into the river. I don't know. But apparently I'm a very good driver now, and that all comes from that experience of being thrown into the fucking deep end. But not everybody will give you an opportunity to, do that. Not many people will give you an opportunity. If you don't have experience, they don't want somebody who's inexperienced doing it. I think that I wish that there was much more of a apprenticeship, like the old, like fucking medieval days and shit. Like that there was like an apprenticeship program, right? Where you did an apprenticeship, it had X amount of time, right? You do 1 year here, and they like you, and they'll groom you, and they'll teach you. That's what I do for people. When I've had interns here that have helped me, I groom them. Not like physically. That'd be weird, Austin, wouldn't it? Can you picture it, though?
It'd be a little strange.
Okay. So, but yeah, I groom them. Like, I teach them how to make films. And I say to myself, I'm going to teach this person more than the amount of effort that they give me. I'm going to help them. And then I get them, when I got a job with my friend, I got him hired. Like first as intern, then as my assistant, and then we got him hired another job. Because we liked him. But that's the way it should be done. You know what I'm saying? There should be some system of
do that.
Pass it on.
Because I know of like carpenters and pipe fitters and boiler makers. They actually do that. They have apprenticeships where you actually get paid. And like you're a journeyman is what they call it.
Right.
You're a journeyman for some time, and then you just gradually move up as you gain experience.
Well, and that's great.
Work your way up.
That's great. But there are so many industries here in New York City that you don't have the experience, we don't care. And like if you take in my case, now I'm at the point in my career where I have like more like celebrity names on my resume, blah blah blah. I can point to this. Look at my toe. I can point to that. But so I have some of those values, but I don't have, like, if I wanted to work at a major ad agency, I don't have 5 years of ad agency experience. So even though I could probably do that job, because I've worked with major brands like Subway and this and that, I've created material that's gone to millions and millions of people, helped build YouTube stars, on and on. My resume is pretty thick at this point. But because I don't have that particular checkbox, and something I could learn literally in 5 fucking minutes, whatever those things are, like, you're just not qualified. So it's like the catch-22 of life. How do you get the thing when you're not supposed to get the thing? You know what I'm saying? So like when I was a kid, I wanted to be an actor, right? For a little while. And I was getting a bunch of auditions, and then I just realized the audition process sucked, and I just cast myself in my own movies. And then I stopped casting myself because I didn't want to look at myself while I edited anymore. And then years later, I started doing it again because I'm a weirdo. But on my resume at the time, because I had a little bit of moves in my brain. I put that I was an excellent hip hop dancer. Did you know that I was an excellent hip hop dancer, Austin?
That's news to me.
Thank you. I'm glad. I'm trying to educate you, bro, to who I am, so that when we meet, you'll be like, "Oh, dude, show me your moves," which are not really, you know. Somebody said something funny in the chat room, but anyway, I got called in for an audition, right? And it was for like a fucking commercial, which I did a lot of like commercial auditions and stuff for a. No, I can't do a windmill. Somebody asked me. I got called in for a commercial for like a thing where they actually were like dancers. You know what I'm saying? And they're like 5, 6, 7, 8, and go left and right. And I'm like literally falling over. I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. And it was quickly revealed that in the sense of like the professional sense, I was not an excellent hip hop dancer. Not. So in that case, I can understand them wanting you to have experience being a hip hop dancer coming in. But then, so in the case of like the idea of the catch-22s of life, sometimes you got to fake it till you make it, baby. You have to. You have to. Would you agree with this, Austin? I'm just going to keep asking if you'll just co-sign everything I say. Do you agree with this, Austin?
Well, I can't say that I haven't had times where I've been asked to do something and I'm like not exactly sure how to do it, but I'm just like, yeah, take care of that. And then you just wing it.
Wing it out. You wing it, baby.
Sometimes you get lucky.
Here's a definition of catch-22. A dilemma or difficult circumstance for which there is no escape because of mutually conflicting or dependent conditions. It kind of sounds like a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing. I know the chat room's asking me if I can do a windmill. No, I cannot do a windmill, but I can still do a jumping flying kick or some shit like that from karate. I have my skills. Catch-22 is also listed by Urban Dictionary, as which you should never trust the Urban Dictionary for anything. A situation in which a desired outcome or solution is impossible to attain because of a set of inherently illogical rules or conditions. I agree with that. Actually, that was actually a pretty good definition because it sort of gets to the point of your making is you got to sort of fake it till you make it, right? You got to sort of lie about it. You got to trick your way in. My mother, when I was a kid, quick story. Are you ready for story time, Austin?
Let's do it.
Okay. My mother, when I was a kid, had to, get jobs to support me and my brother. And it wasn't easy, single mom, Upper West Side Manhattan, not a lot of money. And she used to go to interviews to be like a receptionist or whatever it was, a word processor, and, on and on and on. My mom's a brilliant lady, published novelist, everybody knows this. But she would go to these jobs, and she would bring me with her because I was you may not be able to believe this. This part may sound far-fetched to you, Austin, but it's true that I was so cute as a kid that I would distract the people that were interviewing my mother, and then they wouldn't realize that she didn't have the skills to do that job. So, but then she would do the job because, not my mother's not a monkey, but a monkey could do that fucking job. Some of those things, it's not hard. You know what I mean? But there's like this weird sort of sense of like the world is putting up these rules in front of you, these catch-22 rules that if you don't break them in some capacity, you're not going to move forward. And I feel like, and I want to hear your take on this as well, and then we'll open up the chat room to come in here and bullshit about whatever the fuck we're talking about today, which is catch-22s. That if you don't break the rules and you don't exaggerate or lie or fake it till you make it, you don't move forward. And in fact, the people who are the best at faking it, and sometimes it's very damaging to everybody, the people who are the best at fucking faking it are the people that move the most. Do you know what I'm saying, Austin? I'm sure you've seen that, right? Mm-hmm. Especially like in the world of like online video and streaming and this and that. Like people who just are not that fucking good, but they're so like assured about their effort, and they're so like telling you that they're the fucking greatest. I worked with a guy. We're going to call him for laughs here. And if he ever watches this, he'll know that I'm referring to him. We're going to call him here Dustin. Not referring to the guy that I know, who's amazing, but this other guy I worked with. He came into this job, which is a technical job, where I was the director of encoding. And he had read some magazines, and he spouted off about every fucking thing he had ever read. And he impressed me enough to be like, I guess he's enthusiastic, he kind of knows what he's doing. And he impressed my friend enough to think that too. The worst fucking guy I've ever worked with. To this day, even the sons of bitches, I think this guy may be actually worse because he was like incompetent at a level that only arrogance could create. You know what I'm saying? Because he thought he
He
knew
was
how to
really
do
faking
everything. Hmm?
it. He was really faking it.
Oh my God. Faking it, maybe even in his own fucking brain. Now, you worked in the fire department, right? Imagine you had a guy who was like, yeah, I know how to fucking throw that hose or whatever you need to do in the fire
I
department.
wouldn't have to imagine.
So you've been there where people are actually
Mhm.
putting your fucking life in danger because they've lied about some skill set that they have because they want an opportunity that they themselves know that this is like the other side of fake it till you make it. Some people should not be faking it. Some people should just not do any fucking thing and just stay the fuck home. Like this guy came in one day and we had all these expensive at the time beta decks, which are $30,000 things, plugged in, and we had this, and we were streaming the world's first March Madness. And I came in one day and he had rewired everything, and nothing fucking worked. And we had like deadlines, and I screamed at him in front of the entire place. And he was such a bullshitter, dude, that I would be talking to somebody about something 30, 40 feet away in this big open office, and he would literally come running across the office and trying to hide the fact that he was running so that he could sit there and not only listen in on the conversation between you and this other person, just in case you were talking about something, but to run over to give his 2 cents, of which was worth a lot less than 2 cents. Like, there's no amount of money that it was worth what he would offer to that conversation. But he was so invested in offering it, you couldn't fucking get rid of him without being an asshole to him. And those are the people.
One of those people that doesn't pick up on social cues
or doesn't care.
You got to be like
doesn't
really
care.
direct.
Doesn't care because they're so ambitious that skill sets don't matter. And I think that and this ties into the catch-22 thing we're talking about today, or I'm just pontificating about. I'm so sorry, Austin, but I have a lot to fucking say. But the catch-22 problem is that on the one side you have the how do you get something without somebody either giving you an opportunity or you just taking it and then faking it, right? But on the other side of that, those people who need people to work and need people to have those opportunities, there's the people who are so fucking full of themselves and full of shit that you may get mixed in with those like phonies that are trying to take opportunities that they're just not even mentally qualified for. You know what I'm saying? And so that's where it gets kind of fucked up because like there's the real people who could learn on the job and could be very apt to do just about anything. Like if you took, I'm not saying that you would ever take like maybe not Bill Gates the best example of this, but let's say Bill Gates is a pretty smart guy. He's a good example, right? Well, can we agree, Austin, that Bill Gates is a smart guy?
I would say definitely is.
Okay, because we could argue about this. Who Elon Musk? I'm just picking a general smart guy, and like the general smart guy, Bill Gates. Like if you were to put Bill Gates, he'd never be a firefighter. Bill Gates, he'd be the guy at the top of the fire that worked for the fire department that was then trapped in the fire. You know what I'm saying? But if you took Bill Gates and put him in any other situation that involved like either business or technology or programming, he would excel. Can we agree on that?
I'd say he would, yeah. I mean, because he's got the capacity to be able to learn.
Right. So, unfortunately, we live in a society in the world where the capacity to do something, A, isn't very easily measured. B, people don't want to invest the 5 minutes it takes to find out if the capacity is there. They just want the simple, have you done this before? What big projects have you worked on that I've heard of in my business, right? Which names do you have under your belt? Because all of it is really, it's not about hiring the right person in those situations. It's more about making sure that my boss approves of my hire based upon the credentials of the person that I just hired. And that his boss approves upon their, you know what I'm saying, down the chain. It's all like a sales tactic through a company. So what it does is it doesn't give opportunity to have people just come in. So how do you get around that, Austin? And we talked about it before, just getting an internship, this and that. And I am doing well. Wolf Ender just said hello from the chat room.
Well, you can kind of understand a little bit, like on their point of view,
of course,
where it's like
of course.
They need to be able to know that whoever is hired is capable of doing this job or filling that position in a way that they expect.
Right. Well, I think that
So
the Googles of the world, they have it right. You know, I'm pretty sure they do it this way. And I'm not saying they're a great place to work. I've never worked for Google, but I'm pretty sure that they check like mental aptitude as opposed to just where have you worked. You know what I'm saying? They look for like people who have the actual fucking ability to do a job as opposed to those that have just done it. Because for me, I want to like, if I was in a position of power, and I have been at points, and I will be again, but for me, if I was in a position of power and I met somebody in a coffee shop that worked in a coffee shop that was like a phenomenal person, like character-wise, had a phenomenal work ethic at the coffee shop, and I thought was actually rather intelligent, I'd rather train that person, take the month to train them and see if they're a good fit, than hire somebody from the outside who just had done it before. Because then I could sort of vouch for not only like what they can do, but who they are and sort of how they approach a situation. I just feel like you're kind of fucked in these situations where you're trying to get forward among a sea full of these really pesky catch-22s. So I'm going to open up the chat room in a second to different people to talk about different catch-22s that you've experienced. I mean, it can be everything from how are you supposed to be a good lover if you're a virgin? I don't know. I'm not really good at instructing people how to be good lovers, by the way. I'm the wrong source. Redneck, are you an expert in this situation?
I've had some practice.
Oh, look at you. Look at you. You could write a book. Redneck Rebel's Guide to Humping. I think.
I don't know if I could write instructions. I mean, you just wing it and feel it out, man.
Right.
You figure it out eventually. You know, you embarrass yourself a few times, and
right.
Then...
So you're just in that case, it's like you get some partners. They're all willing partners. They're not unwilling partners, obviously, and they don't really have a choice. They don't know that you're inexperienced. They're not like, oh, I just want a good lover. They're just like, oh, you're in the moment. You're there. You know, whatever body parts are gonna come out, and whatever those are, they're good body parts, bad body parts. I don't know. Then it's like, oh well, it didn't work out. So you get on the job training because they didn't really know what was behind the curtain. So I think in that case, you kind of get spared a little bit. I don't know. Maybe I'm not speaking from experience. No, I'm not the 46-year-old virgin, right? So the other thing we deal with a lot in society too, I want to talk about is like expectation. And then we'll go to the chat room. We'll have people come in. Anybody wants to come in? Jerry's there. Okay. I'll bring you in one at a time. We'll talk quickly. It's just the expectations of society, right? Like people think that you should, like, I'll give you an example. Like I talked to OC Diva about this. She's a professional graphics artist, right? Digital artist, does a ton of things, 3D, 2D. I hate to describe anybody wrong. I'm so sorry if I am. But just amazing talent, right? And I'm an editor, in addition to being a director and a writer and a filmmaker and all those things. But one of my skill sets is editing. So every time I go for an editing job, it says, wanted, editor. Okay. And every time she'll go for like a motion graphics job, they'll say, wanted, motion graphics artist, right? Yeah, Danny says that she makes 3D look like 4D. Amazing. But wanted editor, right? And it'll say like, blah, 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 skills needed, right? But this must be able to use, have expert levels at After Effects. Now, After Effects is a motion program for graphics. And Adobe Premiere is an editing program. And then when she looks for a job, it'll be like, hey, must be an expert in editing. Or whatever. You must be able to cut promos. Now, a motion graphics artist's skill sets and an editor's skill sets are two completely different things, genres, skill sets, all these different words I could throw at it to say.
I can cut people. Good promos.
People.
Like, let me tell you something, Mean Gene.
No, that you'd be actually enough. It's excellent.
Yeah, brother.
So
I can cut good promos.
So these are moments where the world's expectations do not meet a realistic person that would come through the door. So I mean, occasionally there's people who have both of those skill sets, but for the most part, they're just going to be two separate people, or they're going to be one person that's usually mediocre or horrible at one thing and great at the other. And to sort of insist upon that, sort of what it allows you to do, like OCDV just said here in the chat room, they also pay you for one job, not two. So it allows them to sort of combine two jobs into one and not really understand the type of person and force somebody to lie about one of those jobs. Because I've never met the world's most incredible editor who also did all of the visual effects for their film. Now, there's some, they're out there, but it's unusual. Usually have one or the other. One's a timing thing, and one's a, I can't even speak to it. I don't know how to fucking do it. You know what I'm saying? And one's an artistic thing in a way that my brain just doesn't do. You ask me to put a font on something, I can do it a little better now because I'm a good copier of those things. But if I choose a font, it's going to be Comic Sans all day long, every day. And I'm just joking. I don't use it because I've been told not to use it. But if I don't fucking know, then it's going to be all over the screen. I'm going to center it in a weird way. Now, I have a great sense of composition. I can make a mountain look good next to a puppy. I could do it the timing of how to cut to the close-up of that fucking puppy and make you feel something about that puppy. Or a kitten, rest in peace, Grumpy Cat died today. But with that kitten frowning, I can make you feel about that frowning fucking cat. But if you told me to fucking create a title sequence for that fucking cat, well, if I don't copy it, it's going to look like a fucking 4-year-old did it. It's just because I'm not that person. I'm not that person. It is what it is. So, in that case, it's a catch-22. How do I get a job if I'm applying to be an editor, which I'm one of the fucking best editors in the fucking world? I guarantee that. I'm confident as shit. But how do I get a job as an editor when every fucking application says you got to be an expert at a skill set that has nothing to do with editing? Austin, tell me, what do I do? What do I fucking do?
What skill set is that they're asking for?
It's like being like visual graphics art. It's graphical. It's like knowing how to like put graph. That's how dumb I am at this shit. I don't fucking know how to do it at all. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like,
so they want you to edit and be able to do graphic design at the same time?
Basically, with visual everything, yeah. Just basic, because After Effects takes a level of detail and layers, and it's a thinking thing. It's like a construction thing. I don't build shit. That's why I don't play Fortnite. Because I don't know how to fucking build nothing. And I don't want to build it, and I don't like building it. And they're like, why don't you play Fortnite? You can shoot stuff. No, because I got to build a fucking skyscraper every time I want to kill somebody or hide. And I'm not good at it. It'll fall. So why are you asking me to play a fucking shooter that's also a builder? I can't do both. So that's a catch-22. How do you get good at a game that requires you to be a fucking 5-year-old genius at Minecraft and a soldier from the future? I can't. So I don't play that game. I refuse. That's a catch-22.
You're not missing anything.
I don't think I am, actually. That game's stupid. Like, you're just like, I don't want to play that. It's fucking, I was going to use the R word, and by R, I mean radical. No, it's not my strongest. Just kidding. Well, I wasn't just kidding. I'm I'm a radical guy. So let's go to the chat room. I'm going to bring Jerry in here in a second. He's going to talk about quick catch-22s. Anybody else want to join us? Just type in the Discord. It's hashtag Discord. You can jump one of the chat rooms, and I'll bring you in for a question if you act like an idiot. That won't be a catch-22. That'll just be like, don't let the door catch you on the ass on the way out. All right, Jerry, let's bring in Jerry. Here he comes. Jerry, you're live on the chat room thing.
There's only one idiot allowed on the show, and he hosts it. So
what? How fucking dare you? How dare you? Hi, Jerry. How are you?
What? I had to mute the other line and then unmute this line. So,
bro, those are your problems. Those are your problems. Please don't bring them onto my stream.
That's the catch-22 because I'm hearing an echo or a 10-second delay of a repeating thing.
What do I do? What do I do? Catch-22. You know? Anyway, it's gonna be you ever like my brain is like this? So here's a catch-22, right? Mm-hmm. I think of something really disturbing to say, mm-hmm. and then mm-hmm. I know the audience will laugh or shake their head or do whatever, but I know it may offend somebody in my chat room because it's so fucking horribly offensive. I'm caught in a catch-22 moment. I'm supposed to be fucking funny sometimes, but I can't be because somebody may cry. What do I do, Jerry? What do I do?
You just go for it.
Really?
Yeah.
I can't. I can't with this one. I can't do it. I can't do it. It's horribly offensive.
Well, if it's horribly offensive, then you don't do it. But you can't please everyone. So, I mean...
But that's the catch-22. So here's the catch-22.
In the generality of jokes, right, you're going to offend one person. So you just got to make sure you don't offend the majority.
Yeah, but how do you know if you're taking chances, right? So like in comedy,
right.
The goal is to take chances to be funny, to be shocking, right? How do you know if what you're going to do is going to be offensive enough that it comes, it's the catch-22 of it.
Right.
You have So to stand out, you have to do dumb shit, right? Or take big chances. But when you take big chances, You fail a lot.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So here's a Genetic just said in the chat room. There's a catch-22 in scientific research because they won't give you grants without data, but you can't get data without grants. 100%. I think these systems are designed to exclude. I really do. I think that they're designed, those catch-22s are designed as like fucking like Kobayashi Maru tests for people. That's Star Trek reference for you oldies here. Star Trek 2, you were, none of you were alive. But that's like the point. That's a test of character, right? Whereas in life, it's like, well, like when I was a kid, I was a doorman, right? I made good money. I'm not saying it in a bad way. My friends are all superintendents, right? But you couldn't get a doorman job without knowing somebody. I don't know what the catch-22 is this. There is no catch-22. But how do you get a doorman job without knowing somebody? I don't fucking know. I fucked up that example. Let's move on, Jerry. You were here to say, Jerry, speak to me, brother.
Well, you wanted me to talk about the ATS on jobs for experienced people.
Go ahead. Go for it.
And ATS is a system where they use artificial intelligence to scan your resume against the job description.
Mm-hmm.
So you could say on your resume, I communicate well with others, but the job description would be partnering well with others. And if it doesn't match, the HR will just throw your resume away.
Crazy. That's crazy. So it forces you to lie, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you want to try to get that job, and then forces you into a position where you're on the job, and you may not have all the skill sets you need, and they're going to assume you do. It's the catch-22 of that fucking job. It's bullshit. Let me tell you. I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
Go ahead. No, go.
I recently applied to a job. You're gonna laugh. You're gonna laugh at this, but I applied to the job. I can say it now because I didn't get the job. No problem. My resume's in their box, and I'm actually qualified for this job. For you guys to understand my level of what I've done, maybe even sometimes more. I applied to be creative director for the New York Overwatch League team and their other teams here. So to run their production, to run their creative decisions on like everything, right? To run teams of people, and I've done that, and I can totally do it. That's not above and beyond my skill set at all. In fact, I'd fucking hit it out of the park. So I applied for this job on LinkedIn, and I looked at it, and it had like check boxes for the skill sets that you needed to have. Like, things like, I don't know, these weren't on it, but I'm making shit up. Good listener. You know what I mean? Whatever. It was a bunch of fucking checks, and I only had 3 out of 15 of those checks for the check marks on the side. But I knew that I had all the qualifications to do this job at a very high level, to work with brands and all that bullshit. So what did I do? I just went into my fucking skills, and I just added every single one of those skills. Now, I had those in those cases. But in some cases, you don't. You just got to fucking lie so that you can get in there, so that you can hopefully figure it out on the spot. And hopefully places are understanding. Like a lot of places I go into, they're like, you got to be able to use Avid, which is another editing program. Now, I've used Avid for a year or 2, maybe 3, but it changes all the time. But I haven't used it in a while, and I use Adobe Premiere. But if somebody's like, are you an expert in Avid? It's a scary moment. Because if you say fucking yes, and you show up, and they're like, day one, get to work, make it work, this is going on television, you'll be like, oh my God, you couldn't give me 2 hours? So that's what I'm saying, like the idea of the training wheels, right? I think not everything should come with training wheels, but a lot more shit should come with training wheels. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Look, that was easy. Redneck, you still there, bro? You need training wheels? You're very quiet tonight. I don't know what's going on with you. I'm worried about you, to be honest with you. I'm concerned.
No, not quite. I'm just letting you speak.
Well, then you'll never get to talk if you let me speak. You need to interject, my brother. It's a catch-22. You interject too much, then you feel like you're stepping on my toes. You're not letting me do my thing. But if you don't interject enough, then I'll harass you for not interjecting. What do you do?
It's actually 100% accurate.
It's a catch. Catch
22.
Catch Jesse Jew. All right.
It is. It's a Jeskid too.
I said Jesse Jew. I don't know why I came out with that one. I'm not even that Jewish. I make myself much more Jewish for this show. I think it's funny to me. It's offensive to like somebody out there.
But I think that there are things like training wheels that are out there. It's just that other people are not aware of it.
Well, but don't you think like if it's not at the lower levels, like say if I want to do a career switch, which I really don't want to do, right? But I want to do a career switch. Like I'm a smartish guy, right? Me and Jerry went to the same high school. We went to Bronx Science, just like the head of AMD processors did. Went to Bronx Science 2 years before us, Jerry, by the way. CEO of a Fortune 500 company and many, many others. But, you know, so we are of the intelligence that we could do a lot of things and pretty simply, but other industries may not accept us because we don't have the experience of things that could be learned. It's very strange. You know what I mean? It's a very distrusting fucking world. And it's like, I'm telling you, it's like there's like things there's New York City parking, right? None of it makes any sense. And I don't know how this is going to figure into this example, but like you've seen it on Seinfeld, right? Where it's like there's two sides of the street, right? And then you can't park from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. on one side of the street, right? But it's illegal. Right. So there's nowhere to go with your car, though. When they come, they sweep the street. So what do? Right? You're not going to ride around for 3 fucking hours. So everybody parks next to the car on the other side of the street. Double parks, which is illegal to do that as well. But if you don't commit the crime, then your car will definitely get ticketed, and the city looks the other way for those cars that are double parked. And they just everybody does it. You leave a note on your car, you come back in 3 hours, and then you move the car back over. And then you sit there hoping to not get a ticket. But the catch-22 is, do I break the law to avoid breaking the law?
Holy moly.
Yeah, please. Oh, wait, I had to turn that down, Jerry. Make that stop. Whatever that is, put your mic down. I turned the mic down completely, just blew out my fucking ears. So the catch-22 of the moment, that really hurt, whatever that was. The catch-22, I jumped on it. You should see my fucking face on the stream. It was like, I was fucking ears, you're going to see blood coming out of my ears. So the catch-22 is, do I keep Jerry, who I've known for over fucking 35 years probably, on the podcast with his fucked up mic because I really like him, or do I get rid of him and create hard feelings because he's caused me a little bit of deafness? It's a hard call, and I feel trapped because each one has illogical outcomes and circumstances. No, I'm just kidding, Jerry. Are you still there? Can you still hear me? Did you fix it? You okay? Jerry, are you alive? I feel like somebody just took a piece of paper and just did it in front of your face, and blood came out of the paper, and there was The Exorcist, and I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened, but it was loud. It was an event. I feel like a fucking you just tore the universe, like Thanos snapped his fingers or something. Are you okay, Jerry?
When you post that, you got to leave that in there.
Of course, I don't ever edit these things. I don't have fucking time, because the catch-22 is if I edit these things, they won't be raw and organic, and also I'm too lazy and I won't ever post the episode, right? But then if I leave everything in, there's going to be fucked up shit, like me having my ears torn out of my soul and through my butthole.
It's a shame
my hearing.
The people that are listening on iTunes and Spotify
I'm sorry.
See what you did on camera.
Yeah, I don't know what happened on camera. I don't want to know. You don't need to see these details. You can watch them on YouTube. They don't need to be seen. All right, so where were we? Fucking catch-22. So Jerry, he's not here anymore. I just see his face in the Discord, but Jerry, something has happened to Jerry. I'm worried, legitimately, about Jerry. But the catch-22, so here's some like creepy catch-22s. Let's talk about those, Austin. Do I A, stalk Jerry to find out if he's okay, or B, just leave him be and then worry about him constantly in a stalkerish kind of way? Is that a catch-22, or is that just really creepy? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Jerry's back.
It was a little strange. So,
I'm a strange person.
Pretty bad.
I'm a strange person. All right. Anyway, anybody else in the chat room? Dan, anybody else who wants to join us in here to talk about catch-22s? And what is somebody wrote JFDI? I don't know what that means. It's probably just fucking dick inside. I don't know what that is. But life is full of these things, and that's kind of what I want to say. Life is full of catch-22s, right? Life is full of... Jerry said no, he's offended. I don't know what Jerry's offended by. I have no idea what's going on here anymore. I've lost control of the fucking chat. Oh, he said something weird happened with his mic. Yeah. What weird happened with it is my left ear
no kidding.
Is damaged permanently. That's what's weird happened with your mic. It was like...
Everybody, he's okay.
I'm okay. You're talking about Jerry.
Talking about Jerry.
Oh, fuck you, dude. Fuck
Jerry's
you.
okay.
Jerry's okay. Everybody, Jerry is okay. For those listening in your car I'm sorry if that caused an accident. I'm gonna have to find that moment and turn down the audio on that shit. All right.
I'm already working on the clip.
Thank you for that. So anyway, the point I'm trying to get at is life is filled with life is filled with catch-22s. It is. It's like no matter what you do, there's gonna be moments that you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. That you sort of have to sort of bend the rules. You got to do workarounds. You got to fake it till you make it. You have to, suffer from imposter syndrome while you sort of, force your way in and get your opportunity, because none of the shit that we do in this world makes a lot of sense, or at least a lot of it doesn't make any sense. And I think that you definitely just have to figure out your way to sort of get your meal out of the doggy bowl when there's 7 other dogs trying to eat out of that fucking bowl. Is that a weird analogy? I think it is, Austin. I think my brain...
I think that analogy is pretty good.
Fair. Oh, look at you. I've been co-signed by Austin. You've been co-signed by Austin. Sounds the new fragrance by Redneck Rebel.
Co-signed?
You've been co-signed by Austin. But I just feel like the world's rules and people's expectations of you are often unreasonable and baked into pre-expectations that just don't allow people to flourish. And that's why I talked about should everything come with training wheels. I think a lot more things need to come with training wheels. And that doesn't mean that people need to be coddled, nor does it mean that people need to be thrown into the fire directly. But people who have aptitudes for different things should be given opportunity based upon those aptitudes sometimes, based upon their character, based upon, what their potential is. I'm a big believer in potential. In fact, I think that people who have unbelievable potential often turn out to be much greater and more valuable assets personally and professionally to me, because who they are and what they can do often outweighs what they've already done. Because the evidence of that is usually just on a piece of paper or on a project they've sort of somehow associated themselves with. And how do I really know from that person, from those credentials, they even did those things in the first place? They may have been part of some bigger train of people that did them. I kind of want to know who those people are. So I wish that we had more traditional internships where people were not abused. I wish we had more mentorships. I think it's important to find people to mentor if you have a skill set in something. I wish we had more of the old sort of apprenticeship. And the only places you find those in are more vocational things. I wish there was a ton more, just of more of a system where people can sort of nurture the system so that other people can come through it successfully without having to bumble their way through or force their way through doors or get in positions where they're not good fits at all. I think we need to rethink how society manages talent. And I think once we do that, we're just going to have just a much better place for everybody, because people are going to be able to fit into what they do in a much easier way. See, that was a big, profound fucking speech, and I faked all of it. I faked it till I made it. I didn't even know if I could had that in me, Austin. I was like, I don't. But I think that's something to that, right? Like, you don't really know what you can do until you're in the moment and you're doing it.
On a realistic note, too, it's like what you're doing. Like when you say like you're judging people more so based on their character and potential and capability rather than what it says on the piece of paper, like that's a really good thing that you can be doing for people. Because think about this, like just in your filmmaking, career, I guarantee you if I asked you who gave you your opportunity, you would know who that was.
Oh, 100%.
You just immediately.
2 seconds.
So,
and I'm very grateful and loyal to that person. Absolutely. Yeah. And
that's really important, because even like, I always bring up wrestling all the time. I don't know why, but it's just like Hall of Fame speeches. Like when guys sit and talk about their careers, one thing that has happened in every single speech is every one of those guys can tell you who gave them their opportunity to learn and to flourish and be somebody.
That's amazing. And it's amazing when people are grateful for those moments. unfortunately, I'm not going to end this on a negative note, but I will talk about this for a second. There are a lot of people who refuse to acknowledge it's the egotistical world we live in. There are a lot of people who refuse to acknowledge those that have helped them get into the positions that they're in. And via opportunity given to them, or even just advice given to them, or sometimes they can't remember everything. It's totally understandable, and they can't. As you rise up in power in the world of what you do, you can't help everybody. It's not possible. But there are those people out there who are so, and I think I hate to say it, and it pains me and it hurts my heart to say it, but it's the majority of people are just very selfish in our culture. And they don't,
unfortunately,
they don't look out for the guy after them. So people like me who have had trouble with opportunity coming my way, and it just is what it is. Doesn't mean that I'm not going to become the person I've always wanted to become, or I'm already that person because I'm trying to become it, and that's the journey. But people like me always look out for other people. Always. When I can, obviously, And maybe that would change if I was big and powerful, but I don't think so. Because when I've had bits of power, I've done what I could to help those after me and not punish those after me. A lot of people take the reason we don't have more mentorships, the reason we don't have these apprenticeships and all those other things, and the culture's a lot more fluid and it's not based on more talent, is because people who get into positions of some sort of authority or power are often very bitter and very angry about any of the struggle that they had to go through to get there. And their way of paying back the world is to deny those after them. And that's a very cruel and terrible thing to do, to not only be ungrateful and selfish enough to not help those people that have helped you, but not to look out for the next person after you. It makes no sense. And it just shows to the poor character of which is in our world currently. And I hope it changes, because I think we need more of that lubrication. I don't mean that in a weird way, but lubrication for the system of how people, guide themselves through this world. I guarantee you there's not a single person that will listen to this or out there that has not felt at some point or the other, how am I going to fit into this world? What am I going to do? How am I going to get that job? And you could just say, well, just figure it out. But everything can't just be every man or woman for themselves. It doesn't work. It just creates like a wedge, and sometimes on the very fringes of that wedge are the people that would be best suited for that entranceway into that thing. There's got to be a better way for those that have the goods to move forward, and those that don't to find things that they'll have the goods in, or places where they have value. We're terrible about that. And
it's very
I hope it
unfortunate
changes.
too, because the way that I've always looked at it, and I know you do too, but it's like you want to be successful and have this opportunity so that you can be the guy that gives that same opportunity to somebody that was once you.
Absolutely. I would love to.
That's what everyone should do.
I would love to, and I think I have. But, power, money in our culture corrupts. And, is what it is. And maybe just by having a podcast, by talking about this and getting to a very serious place over something that, the catch-22s of life that starts off very basic, we get down to a really core problem of how to eliminate these catch-22s. How to sort of create opportunity based more on trust and faith in people. I wish that. I wish it for myself. I wish it for others, But we're just not there yet. We're not there yet. Anyway.
But you and I can still make that difference, even if it's just you and me, we might inspire another guy, that guy inspires another guy. It's a chain reaction.
Right.
And that's the kind of things that I hope to achieve, because I don't want to look at things negatively, like, if I give some guy an opportunity, there's a million other guys that wouldn't, and it doesn't matter.
Well,
we really shouldn't look at it like that.
I can speak for experience here for a second, right? I can tell you where the hardships come up, and this is something you have not encountered yet. I agree with you completely. One of the biggest things, so here I'm trying to be a streamer, right? And it requires people's help. It requires people's donations and subscriptions and all these things, and spreading of the word of what I'm doing. It's required, right? But even in that process, I look to people like yourself or my friend David, who's been so helpful in here, and I try to do what I can to promote what you're doing because it's something that you want to do. Now, you may not want to do it with the seriousness of what I want to do it, or the amount of work that I'm doing to do it, but I still want you to do well because I'm trying to pass on the little bit of knowledge that I have to you, if possible. So that's why in your case, whatever, I sent you a stupid microphone, who gives a shit? But very quickly, I made you a logo. I'm giving you advice, not because I want you to thank me, but because I believe in what you have to offer. And I think that with a little extra bit of experience coming your way, and if you may decide you don't want to do it, I want that for you. And I want that for my other friend. But the other side of this is, it is hard when your friends even around you start to surpass you in some ways. And I have to put that in check and say, and that's just being intellectually honest, because that's happened to me so many times where I have been the drill sergeant for the officer candidate school, and I stay in as a drill sergeant, and I'm the most qualified person there, and that person goes on to become the general. You know what I mean? And you're saying, well, what about me? And they're like, you can never get promoted. You're just a drill sergeant. And there's an emotion there that I put in check because I know it's a false emotion. Because I know that those people who have been selfish that I have helped and that could help me, I need to not let them infect my brain with their selfishness. Does that make sense? And not those negative, selfish, bitter, and not think that every person that I help that moves on, and I'm not talking about you per se, Austin, but many, many, many people over the years, that my brain doesn't ever feel threatened for those people because other people in the past have really not been reciprocal about what I've done for them, or even understood what I've done for them. There are people out there with monster careers that could have lost their jobs, that I protected their jobs behind the scenes and put my own job on the line to do it. And they never knew it, and I never told them, and now they're famous. And I'm not like, woe is me, I'm sitting here. I'm alive. I'm happy. I have great people in my life. I'm doing a thing I'm very proud of at the moment. So and the journey, we all get old, we all die, all those things. The journey's the same. In fact, maybe my journey is even more interesting, than theirs. But that's who's to judge all that. But still, one would hope. So that's why I have to be very careful about all these emotions that go through my head. Like, it's the catch-22. Here's another catch-22, Austin, for you. When I was younger, I remember sitting in my very distinct feeling. I made a movie, and every semester, it was a big movie. I made Shades of Grey, the original one, not the S&M film, my own. It's a comedy. Before I made a feature version of it later. And every semester, after the semester was over, we'd have a big party at my house. My mom would help me have this party, and all the people in it and all our friends would come and watch our movie together. And I remember we watched one semester's movie, and they loved it. It was great. And they wanted to watch Shades of Grey after because they loved it so much. And people were screaming, laughing, like red with laughter. And I saw the effect that my work had on them. And I remember sitting in the back of the room saying to myself and feeling like I was the king of the fucking universe in a very sort of like, I'm literally the king of the universe. And I remember this sick feeling coming over me and saying that arrogance that you're feeling now is disturbing because it goes against who I am as far as being like a very down-to-earth person. I need to be down-to-earth. That's who I am. So it was like these two conflicting things that were going on in my brain. And I shut down the arrogant person in that moment, even though I could see, wow, I could be the next Spielberg, whatever, in that moment. But what I'm getting at is I work in an industry that requires that sort of swagger and that confidence. But personally, the catch-22 for me is to be that person with that kind of swagger and confidence and thinks I'm the world's greatest thing and promotes that constantly is against who I am as a person. So I'm caught in this conundrum of what do you do when the thing required of you is the part of you that you hate the most and you hate the most in others. And that's my catch-22 of life for my career. For my personal life, I just be good to people. It's very simple. I don't need, none of this applies. But I mean, there is some catch-22s. How do you be good to somebody even when they're not being good to you? Because it's good for them. That's another one. But that's a whole nother podcast. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I think this is gonna sum it up here, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot of deep speeches in here. I went deep after I lost my hearing. Austin, right? I went pretty deep. Oh, you're very welcome, Danny. Listen, life is a journey and life is a challenge, and I'm not perfect, and I suffer from the same emotions that everybody else does. And if you ask me, thank you so much. If you ask me really what I want, if Austin were to today tell me that for the next 15 years his dream is to be this thing, I would support him utterly and completely, with no jealousy at all, and just happiness for him if he got the success that he wanted. But I think Austin's going to explore his life. You can speak for yourself, Austin. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to speak to you you're not here. I can't see me or whatever. I did a John Cena reference for you, by the way, on the stream the other day. There's a clip I'm going to share with you on that. So I think this will end this for this week. Thank you guys for joining me on Twitch and on YouTube and on everything else. I do these once a week. This now makes 17 of them. They're obviously, like I said, YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes. And I think they're good. I think that we're adding value to the world by doing these things. I do this podcast once a week. So, yeah, I appreciate you guys all for being here, for being subs, for being supporters of the stream, for being friends, and for keeping me up when many times, even though you can't see it, I'm down. And I come here, and there's people that come here, and I'm like, whoa, these people, they're making me feel like I have value. Now, I know I do, deep inside, but there are like surfaces above that, layers above that sometimes don't, or sometimes feel very lost. And you guys make me feel when I'm doing these things like I'm not lost anymore, and that's pretty special to even get a break from myself with some of you.